Before we get into this episode, I just want to mention that I have a little announcement to make about my merch store, which is www.teespring.com/Perci or /stores/Perci-Garner. I know it's a mouthful, but we'll just I'll share this on all my socials, and the link will be in the description or wherever you can click on it. So before, I appreciate everybody who has purchased merch right now so far. I didn't have a clear path of what I want to do, but now I do. So I've seen an opportunity to help someone out other than my typical charity that I donate to. This one will be for students in the area. So I know COVID has really put a hinder on a lot of people's proms, homecomings, graduations, athletics. So what I want to do is kind of like a mini scholarship. So all the proceeds from my merch store will go to some child, and there will be, I'll come up with my own guidelines for this. You can't go to Kent State. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. There will be no guidelines like that, but I will make it so where, obviously you'll have to have good grades and stuff like that to earn this scholarship. So I would like to my goal is to get to $1,000 before February 2021. If we can do that, amazing. Just know it's going to someone in the community. It doesn't have to be, I haven't decided if it's just Dover. It probably will be just Dover, but we'll see. We'll see how much money we raise. Maybe we can get out multiple scholarships. But that's something that touched my heart, and I really wanted to do. I can't build a school like LeBron, but we can start small and make a small impact for, a kid's dream to get to college and be able to study what he wants. But if we can get to 1,000 by February 2021, I would love it. All right. And we're going to come up with some more designs to put on there. Well, Josh will, but we're going to come up with some more designs to put on the store for you guys to support in any manner you want. If you have suggestions, we can come up with some designs for that as well. But let's get to that goal, baby.
Make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab. Go create your move.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the 99 Miles Per Hour podcast. Your host, me, Perci Garner. Now, today is a little different. Usually, you guys are used to me having a guest. But I still got someone in the studio with me. We still got Josh with me. He's obviously manning everything and producing everything, and he's been a lifesaver to me, and I'm pretty sure he's been a lifesaver to all the other podcasts that he's done. And I'm glad to have you and not being here by myself, or it could be rough, because you already reminded me about 10 things I had to do that I wasn't doing. So
it's okay, and I'll just keep reminding you too as we go through this.
Well, I appreciate it. Man, this podcast thing has been very, very fun to do, and I get to learn a lot about everyone I have on here, even though some are my best friends and I should know them already. But before we get into more of the show, I just wanted to, go through my intro that I always mess up. But this time I feel like it's going to be a little bit better just because I have it all outlined. But I just want to make sure you guys are aware, this podcast is being produced by Josh, who, runs the Get Level Podcast Network. And he, other than 99 Miles Per Hour, he hosts a gang of other podcasts that produces great content that is supposed to make an impact on this community. And I support it wholeheartedly. And those podcasts, make sure you check them out. We have the Anti-Drug Coalition podcast. We have the Community Mental Health Care podcast, which obviously Anti-Drug Coalition. Drugs have made a big impact on my life, so I obviously take that to heart. But I also love the community health care, just because the mental health for me, and I if you guys have seen it on Twitter, I'd reached out to Kevin Love. Josh actually pushed me to do that. We haven't got a response yet, but we'll see if that goes. But mental health for me has been very, critical, and it hasn't always been something that I like to admit. But if you heard me on an earlier podcast, I think was it on the ADC podcast? But we had some.
It was the Adams board on the ADC podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All that. But that was a pleasure. And, I'm very, revealing and forthcoming to give people knowledge on, it's okay to have mental issues, but it's not okay to not recognize them and, talk to some people. So tune into that podcast. We also got the Cleveland Browns, the Dogs podcast, which is doing pretty well. I know Josh and Blake, and they're enjoying doing that podcast, and I enjoy watching it as well. And it's something that's really fun. Even though I'm not a Browns fan, even if you're not, we got a lot of communities, all Browns fans. Let's be real. Besides me, I'm a Steelers fan, but that's neither here nor there. Tune into that podcast. When do those go live? Well, sometimes they actually do a premiere where you're able to, watch it live with the people who host it. So that's including Josh.
If we do premieres, it's on Wednesday night, but the episode always drops on Thursday.
Okay. Yep. Okay, good. Maybe we should do one of those eventually. You've been encouraging me. Maybe we'll do a live show eventually too. We'll see.
We will do a live show eventually.
We'll probably do it more like this format because the guests are always scared. But we'll probably do it like this. And but also one of the podcasts I've been missing, and I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sorry. But is the Sum It Up podcast. And he's pretty much just as important for me starting my podcast as Josh is, because I came in here on a sales call trying to sell some Chromebooks to Rob in the church here at Sum It Up, or at the Summit Dover. And he talked about, oh, hey, we got this podcast studio, man. I think you'd be great. And I'm like thinking, okay, this church was a podcast studio. Yeah, right. And then in the middle of COVID, Rob was like, hey, man, I'm over here. You want to come check it out? I'm like, all right, I'll come check out your podcast studio. And I walk in and I'm like, wow. Well, it didn't look like this. So Josh is obviously, him and his dad have put in work.
Yeah, my dad and my brother.
Oh, your brother? Oh,
yeah, he helped build these walls.
I guess we'll give him some credit too. No, I'm joking. I ain't seen him in a while. How's he doing?
He's doing good. He's doing good.
Yep. But it didn't look like this. Now it looks really good. Everyone has to start from somewhere. But without Rob and Josh, this podcast probably wouldn't be here. But this, when I was amazed when I walked in this place, and I was chomping at the bit, like, let's get going. But yeah, so tune in to the Sum It Up podcast, where Rob just basically sums up his sermon from the previous Sunday.
Yeah, well, we started after he'd been preaching since September, so we're kind of starting back from the beginning and just working our way up. We're not rushing through anything, just taking our time. And
smart.
If we hit a topic, it lasts for the whole show. That's what we talk about.
Nice. I like it. That's authentic content. Another thing about that, there should be probably a big announcement here soon, but I ain't the one that's going to announce that. I just keep y'all on the cliffhanger. Another one is the Big Brothers Big Sisters. So that one is important. I always want to get involved in that because I've seen the impact it had on some of my friends and some of my teammates that have had Big Brothers when they were growing up. So tune into that podcast. And then one coming soon is Tusk against trafficking. So we're all aware of that issue. So that's definitely something that, information that we talk about here. I won't be included on that. Maybe I'll make an appearance. You never know. But that podcast is definitely talking about something that is very, very important and has been plaguing surrounding communities. And hopefully, we can get information on that to prevent some stuff or maybe help it out. But I did promise, I guess before that, make sure you go check out the Get Level Pod shop, getlevelpod.com, shop in the top right corner, since I always mess up the actual URL. Just do that. And they got nice gear. I ain't gonna lie. I already bought a shirt. I'm gonna buy some more stuff, even though I'm gonna buy stuff to support the Dogs podcast. It was actually just my mom's birthday yesterday. She would have been 51. She passed away in 2014, but I think that's why her and my dad split up, because she's a big Browns fan. My dad was a big Steelers fan. So, I'll get some Brown stuff just to support her birthday, for y'all stuff. But I did promise that I would read some reviews from people who left 5-star reviews on iTunes. Now, I should have had this already pulled up, but you know how we do things. We on the fly over here. So,
well, real quick then, Percy, I think we ought to have you on the Dogs podcast to get a Steelers perspective. I've already got a Bengals fan lined up to come in and talk to us. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, man.
So
it's going to be fun. But we have 2 reviews here. One from Coach M, which I think is Micah. And he says, it is so refreshing to hear a story of someone who is not ashamed to be their authentic self. Looking forward to future episodes. I'm assuming that was after the first episode where Josh interviewed me, and like I said, I'm really forthcoming. I don't really hide anything. So I was definitely sharing everything. But we also have another 5-star review from John Horn. Like I said, he says, Percy's positive attitude, that's me. Percy's positive attitude, smile. If you watch on YouTube, and professionalism really makes his podcast an enjoyable listen. It's awesome to see a great young man from our hometown of Dover continue to make an impact in a positive way. Well, John, I appreciate you leaving that review. It does mean a lot. Like the feedback that, this kind of episode is about, little feedback. And I appreciate it. So if anybody else wants to leave a 5-star review, you can. We'd appreciate it. Or if you want to leave a 3-star, if you think I'm ugly, that's fine too. But if you're listening to iTunes, you won't be able to see my face. So that's good. But other than that, we do appreciate that, John and Micah. And I will continue to read those as well if you guys continue to read them. And also, I did talk about on YouTube, I hate to point at y'all, that's rude, but so what was the stat last time? 76% are not subscribed to the YouTube that listen to it. So it's free. Just move your mouse a little bit and then click. There you go. I would appreciate that. Josh would appreciate that as well. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about is the direction of the podcast moving forward, maybe some of the guests that we might be having on. So I'm excited about some of the guests. But before we get to the guests, the podcast direction. So I love, being able to do this content and talk about things that I think really matters. And, we can have some sports talk, some, culture talk like me and Micah had, or Eric. And then we can also just talk about things that can help kids or whatever. And there is, hopefully I don't forget, there is one announcement I want to make at the end of this. But I also want to put in little sprinkles of other content in between the long episodes. Now, I told Josh that I was going to be, cutting up the podcast just because people on YouTube probably don't want to watch an hour to hour and a half of a full episode. It's very easy on Apple iTunes to just let it run, hands free, which actually brings me to the thing I wanted to read. I forgot. If you're interested in sponsoring Get Level Podcast Network, or then it's very so the way we would do this is there's different variations of sponsors you can do, and obviously you're going to sponsor the Anti-Drug Coalition, the community health, mental health care, and stuff like that. Not just 99 miles per hour Percy, but we would. Most of the times when you're doing advertisements on stuff, it's more like a recording or something like that. But the way we'll do it, very authentic and very spontaneous, and it'll be a different version every time. We're not going to be reading a sheet like boom, 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 unless you give us one. We'll do that if you want. But we'll make it exciting. For doing advertisements or sponsors and stuff will be fun for us, and we want to make it fun for you. But another thing is most of the time if someone's watching on TV, they can just change the channel if your ad comes on, or like, oh, here's that song again, change the radio station. But here, people that are invested in our community and love hearing this content from whoever I have on the show, they're going to hear your sponsor no matter what. So if you're interested, you can go to the website and get in contact with Josh, and he'll move forward. And that'll just go towards, helping those, big brothers, big sisters, the Adams Board, or the community healthcare, and the ADC, and the Tusk with trafficking. So, or Tusk against trafficking. They're not for it. They're not with it. But that's a little bit, I want to talk about that. But, moving forward, I want to sprinkle in the content and just make it fun and not everything be a podcast. So I would love, feedback for that. You can leave it to me on Facebook, whatever, wherever you think you can connect to me, and I'll answer. You can leave comments and feedback like, hey, Purse, I love your show, but you should do this. It'll really, improve it. Or, hey, I would love to learn about this. Speaking of that, on Facebook, I did ask a question today about, actually, I want to get your input too. What would you like to know? Well, Josh is tech savvy himself, but he doesn't like to give himself credit. But I just love helping people. So growing up, I've always been the person that people went to. Hey, Percy, I just got this new computer. Can you help me set it up? Or, hey, what laptop or computer should I buy? Or, hey, can you build me a computer? And I love that. You know, some people may feel like they're bothering me, but I love doing that stuff. So today on Facebook, I said, hey, what technological, I can't say that word. What tech information would you like to know, or what, techniques dealing with technology would you like to know, or if there's any questions you have? And I had, a little bit of response. So I wanted to, include that in the episode today, because some of it's some pretty good stuff that can help people in their business. And if Facebook wants to act right, we can get to it. But my whole goal, I just want to help people outside this podcast, during the podcast. If there's anything I can do, I would love to just help people out, whether it's with technology or other things. So there was one that I can't handle, though. He asked me about JavaScript, Python, and other programming languages. It was Mike Cosgrove Jr. I was like, about that. Maybe I can get you to someone who can help. But do you know much about that?
No.
Okay.
No.
You know the WordPress and designing websites that way, but But one of the comments that was left by Jordan Hartzler, if you guys are familiar about Jordan Hartzler, he's with Quality Housing, or Hartzler Quality Housing. He says he would love to learn how to communicate information better with employees and customers using different, avenues. And there's a lot out there. And I'm pretty sure this question is asked from a lot, especially with the COVID thing going on. And there's, at ComDoc, we use Microsoft 365, so we have access to Teams. I'm pretty sure people are familiar with Cisco. They have Cisco WebEx Teams. There's Google if you want to do a look at a free option. But a lot of it, there's Slack, like Jordan mentioned here, but I'm willing to help in any capacity that I can, and just feed your company information. If it's going to help your business, great. No strings attached. Another one was one was talking about gaming monitor, but we won't go into that one. But if there's anyone else who wants to leave a comment, just about, anything they would like to know, it doesn't have to be an older person asking how to download videos to Facebook. Do you remember that commercial?
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't have to be anything like that, but anything. Don't feel like any question is a dumb question. I think they're all important. So definitely something we want to do. And like I said, if there's any feedback you guys want to leave us for moving forward for the content, I would love that. Before we get into a little bit more of what I want to talk about, I learned something new today during which Josh didn't know. I didn't know, because it was way before our times. It might have been before, right when our parents were born. But during the 1960s, there was these group of kids who traveled around the United States, and they would play basketball, but not any old basketball. They were like the Dover Globetrotters, basically. They were, I think, a branch under the Harlem Globetrotters, but obviously they're a lot younger. And something that probably wouldn't happen today. These kids were especially talented. So I know one of them. So I learned all this from Keith Marburger. I was over at Marburger's Farmer Insurance, and he was telling me the story. He had all this stuff on his walls, and I was like, man, what is this? And he's like, actually, that's me. And I was like, oh, I never knew he was skilled at basketball. And they had one drill, and I think they might hold a record or something like that. They had a tip drill in the middle of the court. They would do it for 75 tips for 25 seconds. But they would do that for shows in front of people. They traveled like to New York. They got to meet Jack Dempsey. I don't know if you're old enough to know. I'm not old enough to know, but I know because of, I used to really love boxing. But he was an all-time great boxer. They got to meet him. They got to meet a lot of people. And I just saw something cool that, and doing this podcast and also coming back to the community to work, I'm like, man, I'm learning so much stuff about people in the community and just things that we used to do. And I'm like, dang, Dover's kind of like a big deal. We was mentioned with the governor, which it really isn't that great stuff. But hey, just know he knows Dover exists. That was pretty cool. But yeah, these Dover, they were called the Dover Basketeers. And if you ever want to know about them, you can stop by Marburger's Insurance. Yeah, he actually didn't pay me for that ad. I just thought it was pretty cool. So it was good information that I didn't know, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I like learning that stuff about Dover.
But hey, great example of an ad read right there.
Exactly, great example. See, that's how we do things. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting. Now, I guess moving forward, the 99 mile per hour podcast is, we're just always looking up to to up our quality. I don't know if you guys can tell, but we got a brand new camera. Thanks, Kyle and Josh. It's so pretty. You know, you can tell I look good, but actually you might be able to see some imperfections on my face now. But yeah, we're always looking to improve our content, and I'm more, you know, on the tech side, and I love it. So I love what they're doing. But I hope you guys are enjoying all the stuff we've had before. You know, last episode we had Eric, for that Devon and Adam and stuff like that. But the future guests that I plan on having, I know I went a roundabout way of getting back to this future guest. But we have, and some of you guys might know these people's names. We have a 1994 Dover graduate. His name is Nathan Ames, and I'm not going to spoil any of the, you know, the content, but just know that he's doing big things at Ohio State, the Ohio State University. You know, they didn't recruit me, so I don't like saying that, but Ohio State University, and it's pretty impressive. And you know, I had talked to him a little bit on the phone, and I'm excited for that episode. And then I plan on having, speaking of what I talked about earlier in the community mental health and my struggles with mental health while I was playing professional baseball, Cece, that's what we called her, but her name's Cecilia. She's back with the military now, but she was with the Cleveland Indians when I was playing, and she was like the mental skills coach. Now she had, obviously she had other, I guess, team members, Brian Miles and a couple other interns that, you know, some organizations were into it and some weren't, but the Cleveland Indians were taking a step in the direction of, hey, we know this is important. We think we need to attack this. And so we're going to hire some well-qualified professionals that can help us in this area. And to that day, I looked at, you know, health, like mental health, like, oh no, I'll be all right. You know, I'm fine. I'm a big tough man. You know, I'll get over this. But the approach that she took, and it definitely helped. And so I want her to come on the show, and that might be our first virtual show. And then there's some other guests that, you know, other than Kevin Love, maybe some Indians players that I might try to have on the show. Obviously it's crazy right now with the season, what they got going. You saw the Marlins. They're all quarantined now. All their games are getting postponed or rescheduled. And it's striking fear in a lot of the players. So that might be a topic we hit on a later date. But, you know, COVID's still having an impact. And I'll try to get them on, you know, especially some of the superstars. We'll see if they're still my friends or not. No. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the content we got moving forward. And I guess if there's, I want to say, was there something, I wanted to ask you something, Josh. So if you're not familiar, I don't know if he's ever mentioned this on any other show, but I wanted to bring this up. So outside of the Get Level Podcast Network, hopefully I can share this, but Josh and Kyle have the Next Level design where they, you know, help, and I guess marketing for other companies, and they do a great job. So Josh is, obviously you see the logo here for the 99 Mile Per Hour podcast, and what you'll see for all the other podcasts, Josh has done that. And, you know, I did a little stint where I was like, all right, I want to learn some design. Josh, teach me. But, you know, it's just not meant for everybody. So, but no, Josh is definitely an integral part of this. And I'm trying to learn from him every day, even though he got his MacBook over there. I know I got an iPad, but, you know, I'm a PC Android guy. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, how long have we been going? We've been going a decent amount. You know, when I start talking, I just don't know.
Yeah, 25 minutes or so. You're good.
Wow, I'm just long-winded. The one thing I did want to include, so if you guys are looking to, you know, start a podcast or intimidated at all about what I'm doing or what other, you know, people are doing, you know, like the podcast I mentioned earlier, it's a lot easier than you think when you have someone like Josh, you know, helping you out. So literally, let me tell you the day in the life of my podcast right now before we start making our other sprinkled in content throughout the week. I literally schedule guests. I call them, most of my friends. The conversation's pretty easy. I say, hey, would you like to come on my show? A lot of them are like, yeah, I see what you're doing. It's pretty cool. I would love to be on there. I tell them the date. I literally type up a little outline. It's questions I might want to ask. I come in, sit in this chair, or that chair or that chair. They sit across from me, and I talk to them. And an hour later, Josh clicks stop recording, and then that's it.
That's it for you.
Yeah, that's it for us. So I do want to wipe away the misconceptions of, you know, making content or a podcast or whatever. It's pretty much done for you. So if you do want to, you know, I guess, you know, go after that endeavor, then you definitely can hit up Josh, and he can walk you through it. Because like I said, in previous episodes, he had given me a swift kick in the butt, and now I'm here. So
yeah, just get started. That's the biggest thing. I mean, there is 100% chance that nobody listens to your show if it doesn't exist, right? I mean, that you have to have content for people to check it out.
Yeah, true. That is true. And I know I've always had fears. I always wanted to do something like this. And I was talking to Josh one day because I came in for the ADC podcast, and I'm sitting there watching them, and I'm just like, man, they're so good, you know? And Josh is like, no, he's never been, that's his first time doing it. I'm like, oh, wow, seriously? Okay. And, you know, once I kind of sat at the mic and just started talking, you know, it just kind of.
You had no idea, though. We just said, Percy, jump on a mic.
Yeah, that is true. I was in my workout clothes and everything.
Yeah.
You know, that was back when I did exercise. But no, yeah, there's no reason to fear it, or procrastinate. That's what I was. I mean, I feared a little bit, but most of mine was just procrastination. But it's definitely something you should you should try. It's definitely something in this community. And even if you have aspirations of reaching outside the community, that's fine as well. But I just know we are trying to share, you know, life-changing information with people around here that can just help them improve their life, improve their businesses. And it's just something that, you know, that was the main mission that Josh had and Kyle had from the beginning. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of doing that. So that's that. I'm just everywhere today. But anyways, this is my first time doing something like this. So, you know, I'm just kind of hopscotching around, but we'll get to it. It'll be nailed down, and I'll have something like the Pat McAfee show here soon. Now there is one thing I did want to talk about, and I kind of want to elaborate on something that maybe me and Eric talked about on the previous episode. And that's just, you know, focusing on, I guess, the content you consume, and make sure that, you know, for your kids, you have more control over that. Just make sure, and especially with the Apple devices now, I mean, you can control who they text and stuff, you know. Sorry, kids. But you have more control, and you can just, you know, help set your kid up find something they like, and, you know, teach them new skills. YouTube isn't all about video games or opening up toys or anything like that. But I just know my son, little Perci, he loves YouTube. So we just try to find educational content that will help him and that he enjoys. And I reach out, I talk to Perci all the time. I'm like, hey, you know, what can help you, you know, get better at this? Do you think watching this could help? And he gives me his opinion. He's 7 again, but hey, I try to, you know, give him the idea of that he's involved in the whole decision-making process. But it's something that's parenting, I think, is really important. And if you guys don't know, this podcast is basically, the background is, you know, parenting, marriage, you know, spiritual, as we had Adam Wilson on here. And I plan to have more, you know, spiritual leaders on the podcast in the future. Sports, of course, you know, and I love technology, so I'll sprinkle that in. I know everybody is scared of that, but I'll sprinkle all that in. And, you know, at the end of the day, as long as I can add anything new, informational to your life, to your business, you know, I'm happy, and that's what I'm here for. But like I said earlier, you know, leave a comment anywhere, and just let me know what we can do to improve the podcast, or what you would look forward to learning, or if you have suggestions to be on the show. If you know somebody who you think, you know, would love to be on, they got to be a talker now. We can't have someone come up here, I ask them a question, like, yes. Ask them a question, no. We need someone that is going to, dive deep into detail about what they do in their business or what they're trying to do. I forgot to mention, I do have someone that there's some, some Kickstarter companies that I might be interviewing soon as well. I didn't even tell you that yet.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. But they may be making technology for big corporations that we know of, like the NFL, maybe. You guys can take that as you will. We'll talk about that when they come on the episode. I don't even know if I'm allowed to share that, but and another thing with Nate Ames. So at Ohio State, he does basically, if you have an idea, Josh, you have an idea about this invention you want. You're like, oh, I got this idea, but I just don't know how to, to manufacture it, show it to an audience or show it to clients that are like, oh, that would be cool, and build hype around it. Well, at Ohio State, Nate, his department, they'll make you a functioning prototype, and just get your product started there. So, there's a lot of stuff going on it was behind closed doors to me. I didn't know, but we're going to be learning about that here next Tuesday after, one of the Tuesdays. It'll be in August. But I think that's it. Is there anything you wanted to add? I was just everywhere with that episode, but hey, we're a work in progress. #WIP. And I'm just willing to, if you guys like this type of episode, obviously it will get better, but if you like the episode where it's not always a guest, let us know, give us a thumbs up, like the video. But is there anything you wanted to add to there that I was supposed to talk about that I missed? I don't know.
Well, at the beginning you said you had an announcement. Did you already hit that?
No, I'm going to leave that up to what it's about. That's not my announcement to make. I just wanted to let people know and get it out there, that there could be something going on.
Oh, is this my announcement?
Yes,
yes. Okay.
I just want to put it out there. It's not my announcement to make. I just wanted to get the hype going. Like, okay, what are they talking about? So when it does get announced, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, it's coming.
Okay,
so
it's coming?
It's coming. It's going to be cool.
Okay. I'm excited now.
I can't wait.
I'm excited. I mean, I've been telling a couple people already, but obviously that's my, my family and all that. But I mean, I feel like I enjoy doing this, and I think I might, with your announcement, there might be something that I might
hopefully
be
people like hearing from you.
Yeah. We will see.
Yeah. Yes, we will.
If there's I think there's something else I want to talk about. If there's any like equipment, other than if you don't want to, if you have your own editing skills and your own podcast skills, but you just don't want to spend money on the equipment, do we do something like that too? Where you can, you're not necessarily
help them get the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. All that.
Yeah. We'll help anybody into podcasting. So, I mean, like you said earlier, if you're worried about it or you're kind of intimidated, it's really not that bad. I've never spoken into a mic really in my entire life until we just decided, hey, we're going to buy some podcast mics. Here we go. Now, so we had the equipment. It's like, I guess we probably should start making podcasts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, I hate to say, Nike knows it best, but you got to just do it.
It's true.
Or you're just going to be sitting around years from now thinking, oh, wow, what if I would have started this podcast a couple years ago? I never have that thought, but I do. But I also wanted to end this and say, thank you for guys, all the people that have been watching the content. We do appreciate you. I appreciate the reviews that you guys left. We got we hitting some good numbers on the 5-star reviews on Apple, and that's just going to help us, get to more people. And if my podcast gets to more people, then the other meaningful podcasts do as well. Because we're all one network. So
that's right.
Like I said, I appreciate you guys for listening, tuning in. Keep doing it, please. Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell your dad, tell your auntie. What how do you guys say it? Tell your aunt. No, I didn't mean you guys. What do you mean you guys?
Yeah, what do you mean you guys?
But just get the word out, spread it out. And I've been trying to do that on Facebook and all that, but I also I'm just trying to help people. So that's what I want to do.
That was my shoe.
Sure it was. Y'all heard it first. Josh may toot during your episode. No, I believe him. There's this table's well made. Josh put together, and that might have been his shoe. It was probably a Nike shoe, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, until the next episode, guys, I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is 99 Miles Per Hour podcast with Perci Garner and Josh All. Hey.
Crib by the water, say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. I got a crib by the water, say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. She be on that Henny. I like that Corona.